So someone sent me an essay today by BV Suddhadvaiti Swami called The Living Vaishnavacharya, and BV Suddhadvaiti Swami was formerly a follower of Gaur Govinda Swami, who was an ISKCON guru, and then he went over to the Narayan Maharaja group, and on the website of BV Suddhadvaita it is called Pure Bhakti, and they have a bunch of the sannyasis from the Narayan Maharaj group. However, there are different groups, and the Pure Bhakti group is one of a number of groups that have spun off from Narayan Maharaj. Now, to his credit, BV Suddhadvaita has said there are deviations in the group called Bhakti Bandhav, which is a competing organization with Suddhadvaitas, and they're situated in Mathura, I believe, in India. And he says there are exploiting problems going on in that group. And he also made some comments about I think this guy named Tirtha Swami, who was a former Narayan person, and there were some deviations going on there. So he has addressed some of the deviations going on in some of the other groups. And similarly, Bhagavat Maharaj has said there are deviations going on in the other groups, so he has to be independent. And meanwhile, some of the followers of Narayan Maharaj have said that Bhagavat Maharaj is unauthorized, and he is simply exploiting the guru post, and he's overweight, and he's and he's misusing his position as a guru. So there's different kind of fighting going on amongst different elements of the Narayan Maharaj group, which is not too much different than ISKCON, where different ISKCON gurus were fighting for supremacy after Prabhupada left. And so it looks like there's some fighting for supremacy after Narayan Maharaj left. And similarly, there's a big catfight going on amongst the so-called successors to Sridhar Maharaj, where they're posting pictures of one another as dressed in clown uniforms and all kinds of things. So there's a fight there going on who will be the acharya of that group. So unfortunately, this looks very childish to the general public. You know, these people are supposed to be the successors to God, and they're behaving like kindergarten children trying to get into the head of the line, so to speak. But anyway, let's get into the essay written by BV Suddhadvaiti Swami and start off with his philosophical position. So he says, The Living Vaishnava Acharya by BV Suddhadvaiti Swami. Bhagavan, Sri Krishna, is the supreme enjoyer. Vishaya Bhagavan, he is the object of service and love. Vishaya Vigraha, the served Godhead. Sri Krishna told Sri Uddhava in the 11th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, Acharya Mam Viganyam, you should know the Acharya to be as good as myself. He is my expansion. That is why it is said about such exalted gurus that he is Shakshat Hari Tvena, non-different from the Lord, being his representative, endowed with his potency, while at the same time not being God, but Prabhu Priya, very dear to him. He is the divine servitor. Okay, so the guru is the divine servitor of God. We all agree on that. Unfortunately, Narayan Maharaj was rubber stamping the 11 GBC gurus as gurus, and they were deviating left, right, and center. And he said they need to be worshipped as gurus, and he in fact said that Prabhupada had told him that all of his followers were monkeys. Okay, they're all monkeys, but 11 of these monkeys are gurus. Well, how could we say that monkeys are the successors to God? But Gaur Govinda himself was voted in to the GBC's guru program, or their guru lineage, in 1986. And at that time, there was a whole scandal going on with one of the acharyas named Bhavananda. Evidently, allegedly, supposedly, according to many reports, he was having oral sex with taxi drivers, and there were other allegations. of abuse of children in the schools that were being managed by Bhavananda and Kirtananda and others. So in 1986, after having been suspended, Bhavananda was reinstated back to the post of Acharya. He's as good as God. And at that same meeting, at the same time, Gaur Govinda Maharaj was voted in as a GBC guru. So, wait a minute. You reinstate sex with taxi drivers in the Holy Dham, and you get your guru certificate at the same time from the same people. Now, later on, I met with Gaur Govinda Maharaj and I said, why did he get voted in to that system? Why did he go along with that? And they said, well, he needed a building. He needed a building. Okay, so you need a building, so you compromise with oral sex in the Holy Dham Vishnupad gurus in order to get a building. Now, me, personally, if somebody offered me $15 trillion and said the only condition is you have to get voted in to a homosexual and pedophile and debauchee and drunk guru system in order to get this money, I would not take the money because I would be afraid of the reaction of getting voted in to such a system and in the process validating that system. I would not want to validate homosexuals, pedophiles, deviants, and debauchees being worshipped as Krishna's guru successors and Vishnu Pad, no less. So this is, in my opinion, very sinful. So how did Gaur Govinda get voted in at that time? Some people don't realize the history, which is that Narayan Maharaj and Satsvarup and other GBC leaders of ISKCON were putting together a guru reform. And Satsvarup was writing a book called The Guru Reform Notebook, and he mentions Narayan Maharaj in that booklet. So Narayan Maharaj was helping the GBC hammer together their guru reform. And the result of the guru reform was they were going to vote in a whole bunch more gurus, which they did. And Gaur Govinda is one of the gurus they voted in. Of course, this is another question mark. If the guru is as good as God, then why would we rubber stamp deviants in the post of successors to God? So this is something the followers of Gaur Govinda, Narayan Maharaj, the GBC, and others never answer, which is, how can deviants be the successors to God? Are they, were they, could they have been the successors to God? And we would say, no, that's not possible. Now, another result of the reform was they excommunicated Sulochan. Sulochan had been making complaints about Kirtanananda. The Kirtanananda was out of control. He was having sex with boys in his motorhome. All kinds of things were going on at New Vrindavan. And the reformers went against Sulochan, and they excommunicated Sulochan, and they said Sulochan was making offenses to a great devotee, and all kinds of things like that. So, in other words, Gaur Govinda Maharaj was part of the reform. He was voted in thanks to the reform, and the first thing the reform did was to reinstate sex with taxi drivers as Vishnupad, and excommunicate one of the prime people who was complaining that you have one of your gurus having sex with boys and so many other things are going on with your gurus. So the reform did not reform ISKCON, it simply cemented in many of the deviations that were already going on. There were gurus doing sinful things, they were not following, and they weren't even following the basic principles of the Krishna religion. They weren't even following the neophyte stage of the religion. So How can they be gurus if they can't even follow the basic standards of the religion? Now, Govinda Maharaj had to go along with them to get some benefits. And that's what his followers said. So that is not the symptom of a pure devotee. The pure devotees don't get voted into bogus guru sampradayas in order to get some material benefit, like a building. That's not what they do. And nor do they ever, validate a system where homosexuals, pedophiles, and all kinds of deviants are being worshipped as good as God. They just don't do that. So I'm not sure why Govinda thinks it's a good idea to go along with all this, and Suddhadvaita is still propping up Govinda now and giving all kinds of quotes from Govinda as if these are bona fide authorized statements. Going on with Suddhadvaita's paper, he says, Srila Saraswati Thakur wrote that the Mahabhagavad Guru is Krishna massaging his own leg with his own hands. So such exalted Vaishnava Guru is Asraya Bhagavan, the inconceivably different and non-different Prakasha Vigraha, the manifestation of the Lord, who is serving the Supreme Enjoyer. He is also called Asraya Vigraha or Asraya Vigraha Avatar. Wow. Okay, my comment. We need to cooperate with making homosexuals and pedophiles into the Guru Asraya of the children of ISKCON. Well, how did that work out for the children of ISKCON? Govinda Maharaj and Suddhadvaita and all you people, you made homosexuals, pedophiles, deviants, predators, drunks, sahajas, etc. into the shelter of the children. The children were told they need to worship these degraded individuals as Krishna's successor, as Krishna massaging his own leg with his own hands and all the rest of it. Well, I'm sorry, but you gave these children and ISKCON a false shelter. This was not ever a real shelter. This was, in fact, a degrading shelter, and you degraded ISKCON and the children and the society by giving them a false shelter, claiming this is the shelter of Krishna. It's not the shelter of Krishna, it is the shelter of Maya or illusion. So going on with his paper, this does not apply, of course, to the run-of-the-mill gurus, despite their seniority and their students' uneducated and naive beliefs, but only to true acharyas. Well, why is it naive to promote false people as gurus? If that's naive, you are naive because you are doing that. You are promoting these people as Diksha gurus and acharyas and all the rest of it. So going on, disciples of gurus of lower standard should see their spiritual guide as representative of the Lord, endowed with more or less spiritual potency, Guru Shakti, according to his level of advancement. However, they should not systematically and blindly apply to him whatever they read about the spiritual master in the scriptures. Well, that's not what happened. That is not what happened at all. When all of this started and they went to Sridhar Maharaj and Narayan Maharaj and others, they said the Guru must be seen as a Ratikeli Siddha devotee, as an assistant of the gopis. Sridhar Maharaj said the Guru must be seen as the highest realm. Narayan Maharaj said, yes, they must be worshipped as pure devotees. When he was asked by Jayadvaita and the Guru committee that went to Narayan Maharaj in 1978, he said, yes, they need to be worshipped as the highest platform. So we're blindly applying titles like Vishnupad to deviants. This is a severe offense. And there is no excuse for Govinda Maharaj and Narayan Maharaj to have enabled and promoted that process. They all knew that the titles of Vishnupad, Acharyapad, Gurupad, etc. were being applied to conditioned souls. So the prayers to the Acharya are sung every day in the temple, And the pictures of these gurus were being placed on the altars, so that means they were applying all these prayers that the guru was an assistant of the gopis and etc. were all being applied to their conditioned soul gurus. So this is a contradiction. We should not be blind. We should not blindly affix titles to conditioned souls like Vishnupad, but that's what we're doing every day, all the time. So this doesn't make any sense. We shouldn't apply these titles. The disciples should not apply these titles, but we are. We, the leaders, are applying these titles. So if you're applying these titles, then you are deceiving the disciples. Of course, we get into another whole issue, which is that conditioned souls cannot absorb sins. They cannot be Diksha Gurus because they do not have the Brahmana Tejas to absorb sins. So when Sridhar Maharaj and Narayan Maharaj and Suddhadvaita and all these people claim that conditioned souls are Diksha Gurus and they are absorbing sins, this is false. The sins are not being absorbed. And, Suddhadvaita himself and all these people in the Gaudiya Math and Narayan Maharaj group are claiming to be Diksha Gurus, claiming that they're equals to Jesus, claiming that they can absorb sins like Jesus, but they cannot. They don't have that capacity, and they never did. So they are deceiving themselves and everyone else. And then he goes on, in no case should the disciples believe, despite whatever they be told, that whatever their guru cannot give them will automatically come from Srila Prabhupada, who was allegedly their main guru. This Christian-like Ritvik in disguise philosophy is not bona fide Vaishnava system, Guru Pranali. Srila Prabhupada never hinted at nor ever authorized this concocted way to continue the disciplic succession in his branch of the Chaitanya tree after his physical demise. The guru must be qualified. If he is not, he should be merciful and responsible enough to eschew any sense of false proprietorship over his students and advise them to pray for a truly qualified guru, a living Mahabhagavat, who will help him in his guidance of the souls under his care. Okay, so people are praying to Krishna, I need help, I need guidance. They find Prabhupada's books, they start to worship Prabhupada, and then these guys come along and say, why are you worshiping Prabhupada? That is the bogus Ritvik deviation. You need to worship a living person. Okay, fine. Who's the living person? Well, we have a pocket full of homosexuals. We have some pedophiles. We have illicit sex with men, women, and children. We have drunks. We have debauchees. We have people who are gambling in Reno. What else is new? We have all these guys for you to worship, and they're living. They're living. So they're gurus because they're living? So, no. That's what they told me about Jaitirtha. I said, Jaitirtha is having sex with a disciple. He's taking intoxicants. He's bogus. He's not a guru. But Sridhar Maharaj says he's living. So he's a guru because he's living. No. A dog is living. My trash man is living. All kinds of people are living. That doesn't mean they're qualified to be worshipped as the assistants of the gopis. So Sridhar Maharaj knew. Narayan Maharaj knew. They all knew Jaitirtha is falling down. And the other guys are falling down. And they're all falling down, left, right, and center. But they still go on saying, this is bona fide, this is a Guru Parampara. And Narayan Maharaj is giving them Rasika classes. So they're falling down, left, right, and center. And they're qualified to hear Rasika? No, they're not. So what actually happened at one point, Satsarup was hearing all these Rasika classes from Narayan Maharaj, and he was writing about the colors of the saris of the gopis. At the same time, he was writing about getting enemas for his constipation in the same book. So BV Puri got a hold of this book, and he held this book over his head, and he says, this is the result of Narayan Maharaj. That people are writing about the gopis, and they're writing about their passing stools and enemas. So they're mixing up the gopis with stool passing. This is worse than any sahaja has ever done. So Narayan Maharaj is creating the worst sahaja process ever in the history of Gaudiya Vaishnavism. So notice what's happening. All kinds of devotees are being banned, beaten, molested, sued, and assassinated. And Narayan Maharaja is sitting around talking about the colors of the saris of the gopis with the leaders of the group that is causing all the banning, beating, molesting, lawsuits, and murders. He's helping them and their process of creating all these troubles for all these devotees. So we shouldn't be like the Christians. The Christians worship a pure devotee. Why should we do that? That's not a good idea. That is not the proper process. The proper process is you pray to Krishna to send someone to come. Well, Krishna already sent someone. He's already come. He's already given you all this information. You're going to kick out all this information and pray for someone else. Okay, well, but who is the someone else? So, you don't have someone else. And the someone else's you have produced have created all kinds of problems because they were not qualified. So I just saw the Vyasa Puja offering of Nimi Maharaj, who is another Narayan person, and he credits Narayan Maharaj with giving things that Prabhupada never could have given us. Yes, that's true. Narayan Maharaj gave us homosexuals, pedophiles, as Vishnupads, and he gave us the worship of illicit sex with men, women, and children, which created mass child molesting and all sorts of lawsuits and beating up dissenters, murdering dissenters, all that stuff. That's what he gave us. That's absolutely correct. That's not what Prabhupada gave us, but that's what Narayan Maharaj gave us because he was associated with Tamal, helping the GBC produce their quote-unquote living gurus. So we hear that all the time. You need a living guru. Who's a living guru? Narayan Maharaj says it is the dear Tamal tree of Radha, Tamal Krishna Goswami. Oh, well, okay. And Tamal used to lecture. My two favorite people in the world are Srila Bhavananda Maharaj and Srila Narayan Maharaj. Okay, whoa, wait a minute. Bhavananda Maharaj is having oral sex with taxi drivers in the Dham. He's creating a whole child molesting operation in Mayapur. There's all kinds of problems with children being molested really all over the society, thanks to Tamal, thanks to Bhavananda, and thanks to Narayan Maharaj, because he's their cheerleader. He's one of their enforcers and handmaiden helpers. So he's helping along this process where there's mass child abuse going on left, right, and center. Some of the victims told me there was molesting going on in every nook and cranny of ISKCON. And while all that's going on, Narayan Maharaj is sitting around having the operators of that system being worshipped as Vishnupads and Krishnapads and all kinds of pads. So he is helping the corrupt regime. So going on with his essay, Srila Gaura Govinda Maharaj gave an amazing lecture on this topic in Bhubaneswar, Odisha, India in March 1995. He said that unless one receives directly the Sabda Brahman or Krishna in the form of sound coming down through the kirtan or preaching of the Asraya Vigraha Avatar, the living Vaishnavacharya, one will not be able to understand Krishna Tattva and Bhakti Tattva. Sabda Brahman does not descend through tapes and videos. One must hear personally the Acharya, who is the Asraya Vigraha Avatar of the Lord, doing kirtan or preaching, otherwise the holy name will not descend, and the true message of the scriptures will not manifest and be understood. So, wait a minute. The books don't have Shabda Brahman. The spiritual energy of Krishna does not manifest from the books. We need to have the spiritual energy coming from Gaura Govinda's homosexual pedophile Vishnupad pals and listen to them. And what they're saying is Sabda Brahman, and not the books of the pure devotee. Well, wait a minute. Our new people, we have many new people in our Prabhupada Nuga process, they're not falling down into illicit sex with men, women, and children. They're not drinking vodka. They're not gambling in Reno. They're not having sex with taxi drivers because they're reading the books of the pure devotee, so they understand that these things are deviations. So Gaura Govinda is saying, who needs the books? Don't bother reading the books anymore. And what is the result? All these people are drifting off into all kinds of deviations because they are not reading the books. So what Guru Govinda should say is, everybody must read the books of the Acharya. That is where the Sabda Brahman is. That is where the spiritual instruction is coming from. So he cuts off the bona fide source of Sabda Brahman, or spiritual realization, and he introduces a fake source, which is his illicit sex with men, women, and children, Guru Parampara. So anyway, I'm sorry, but none of this was authorized by Prabhupada, and we have to judge a thing by its result. The result of Narayan Maharaj promoting the GBC's Guru Sabha and giving them their Guru reform and all the rest of that nonsense that he helped them promote over the years has been that ISKCON has drifted off the reservation and it has become a Hindu business, according to people like Bhakti Swami, who are leaders of ISKCON. So even the leaders have to admit that ISKCON has gone off the rails. It has drifted off the original process, and it is now not a bona fide process. But one more thing I wanted to add is that towards the end of his life, Gaura Govinda Maharaj was preaching that we do not originate with Krishna, and he said Sridhar Maharaj is correct. We came from the Brahmajyoti, and Prabhupada was told about that. He says, your godbrothers do not accept that Back to Godhead is correct. They were criticizing the title of Prabhupada's magazine. And Prabhupada said, that is because my godbrothers do not understand we were once with Krishna because they are tinged with Mayavada. So Gaura Govinda is preaching the Gaudiya Math Mayavada idea, that we do not originate with Krishna. And he's preaching the Gaudiya Math idea that you need a living guru. Never mind if he's a deviant. The Gaudiya Math made many deviants into living gurus. So Prabhupada said, do not follow this Gaudiya Math process. It will devastate ISKCON. And it has. And it has devastated the children of ISKCON, the citizens of ISKCON, and the entire society of ISKCON. So my recommendation is, yeah, let's be like the Christians. Let's worship a pure devotee. Maybe we should try that out for a change, instead of worshiping Gaura Govinda's pedophile messiahs project. Maybe that's not producing a good result. Anyway, I hope this helps. Hari Hari Bo.